You know the conspiracy about Princess Diana, right? You know, where on August 31st, 1997, she died in a car crash under the Pont d'Alma Bridge in France, and the whole thing is trying to figure out why. Well, yeah, if you don't, this video is for you. This will go over the timeline of what happened, debunk a few widely noted claims, and go into why people believe these claims and what I think. So let's get into it. Turn the clock back to 1977. At age 16, Princess Diana would meet Prince Charles, this guy, and 4 years after that, he, a 29-year-old, finally actually noticed her, like wow, and then later married her when she was 20 and he was 32. In March of the year they got married, she finally got into the public spotlight and was hounded like fucking crazy by the paparazzi. Now, while I won't go super deep into anything until the crash, after this, Diana had two children in 1982 and 84, which are these people, and in 1986, Charles and Diana's relationship became super strained from the age and personality incompatibility, and so Diana started a relationship with some guy named James Hewitt, while Charles got back into a relationship with someone named Camilla. In 1991, Diana had a secret interview talking about her suicidality and unhappiness, which was then used for a book in 1992, which finally exposed the affairs. Some other things happened after this, and after attempts at reconciliation by the royal family, it all came to a head on December 20th, 1995, when they finally were advised to divorce. In July of 1996, when Diana was 35, they finally did. The divorce became official on August 28th, 1996. 11 months later, she would start a relationship with Dodi Fade, a multi-billionaire Egyptian Muslim guy. Less than 2 months later, the car crash that took her life would ensue. There were three people in the car: Henry Paul, Dodi, and herself. One thing of note is that Paul was very, very drunk with a blood alcohol of about 0.147%. Now let's get into the conspiracies. This conspiracy theory that says that they were trying to murder Dodi or Diana because they were about to get engaged on September 1st, and you clearly can't have that because, oh no, Dodi was Muslim. The coverage of an engagement like this would have also spread worldwide like wildfire, and the royal family clearly just wouldn't want a relationship like that. Dodi's father, Muhammad Al Fayed, also cites that there were multiple people out to kill Dodi and Diana, but doesn't ever really cite any actual evidence for it other than what he says. This lack of evidence alone is enough to discredit the theory, even if they would have wanted to do it for that reason. This conspiracy theory says that a car driving the opposite way of a strobe lights was used to kill Diana. This was allegedly part of the plan by MI6, but there was literally no way this could have possibly been used. The only evidence for its supposed use is from a guy named Richard Tomlinson, who worked for MI6 but was dismissed and jailed over breaking the Information Act of 1989. This guy said in May 1999 that Diana was in fact killed with MI6 involvement. This is how the conspiracy theory actually got started. And then, in February of 2008, he backtracked the claim, citing that, oh, we actually didn't know if the MI6 killed her or not. Why would you wait literally 9 years for that? Anyways, it was then later found that the whole plan of Diana's alleged killing was based on some plan to kill some Serbian presidential guy, and had no mention of flashlights anyway. It was then later found that he didn't even have anything involving a car crash and flashlights in a tunnel. This conspiracy theory says that there should have been 14 or more CCTV cameras in a tunnel, as reported by The Independent, and none recorded the collision. This one was disproven by a judge named Hervé Stefan, who found only 10 possible locations for the CCTVs, and they were all facing the entrances of the buildings by the tunnel, not inside the tunnel itself. On top of that, they weren't even maintained by the city, they were owned by people who privately owned them nearby, so there was no way for them to even capture the crash if they wanted to. So why do people believe any of these claims? Well, it's just a consequence of how humans operate. Humans like categorizing things into easy, clear-cut categories, and this principle actually extends into what people believe. People like believing simple answers that feel like they're true, and most of the time it does kind of work, but in this case it simply does not. This quirk of how people think causes people to point to these claims and either don't read enough or read too much into them, and get themselves into a rabbit hole into which there is no escape. The media as a whole also contributed back when this event occurred, with a bunch of magazines and tabloids absolutely blowing up with these insane theories, which people took as fact, I wonder why, and they spread into the public discourse as real theories. Now here is my theory. Now here's what I think happened. I think that, as an attempt to get away from the paparazzi, they went into the car without bothering to buckle their seatbelts and didn't even bother to notice the driver, Henry Paul, being drunk. They also didn't bother to mind the speed limits either, going 60, 98 kilometers an hour, in a 31, 50 kilometers an hour. And as Henry was drunk, he was lost control of the car like this and crashed at that speed. After that, while I do believe discrimination against Dodi could have been at play given he was a Muslim, why the hell would they discriminate against Diana? There's basically no reason to do that here. I also believe that the person who treated her to the scene also was probably just following French care protocol and didn't even consider internal injuries, as Diana looked fine enough from the outside and even was talking and conscious a little bit before her cardiac arrest. There isn't a crazy reason like someone trying to kill her or Dodi. It's literally just a series of awful, awful coincidences culminating in the death of all three of them. And that's the end of the video. I hope you got something out of it. Bye.